Hello and welcome to another build video where I don't have a real intro, so I just stall for time. Okay, let's get into the video. On a real note though, I do want to say thanks for all the support on the build videos recently since Onslaught has launched. It's actually a super fun activity, and it's also great to see that people are enjoying the builds for it. Now, for this video today, as you guys know, if you've seen the other videos, I talk about all the time how Well of Radiance is super busted and is not exactly balanced. So people ask, like, what is your well build? Why do you think it's busted? Can you show your well build since it's so good? So I decided to, show the build. So here we are. So today's well build has two objectives. Number one is blow up everything in front of you. And number two is recharge your super back-to-back as fast as humanly possible. Preferably having it every other wave, if not faster. I do want to note that this is going to be a Phoenix Protocol-oriented build. But I want to also note that Cenotaph is a very real choice to make unlimited ammo for your teammates, and if you want to go the extra mile, you can use this build and then just simply well and hot swap to Cenotaph and then make ammo for your teammates if they need it and they're low and there's no ammo crate on the ground. But primarily, we're focusing on using Phoenix Protocol for this build. As always, we're going to have Onslaught footage in the background, but first, the class screen. So we have Dawnblade, obviously Well of Radiance as our super. In our abilities, you can go whatever you want in the Rift section, but I go with Healing Rift. Phoenix Dive is alright too, I just prefer Healing Rift. The jump, do whatever you want. I have Burst Glide. The melee, I have Incinerator Snap, specifically because you put Scorch on targets, but also your snap hitting a main target like a yellow bar blows them up with an ignition, which is good for super energy and obviously damage as well. You could put Celestial Fire if you'd like, but I prefer Snap. And then finally we have Fusion Grenade. Again, the entire fantasy of this is to blow stuff up, so instead of going like a Healing Grenade for safety, I go with Fusion Grenade to just get more Scorch, more blow-ups, more ignitions, etc. In aspects, we have Touch of Flame, same thing with what I just said, we want to blow stuff up even more. And then finally, Heat Rises. Now, technically, you could put Icarus Dash here if you want for movement stuff, but I went with Heat Rises because it's simple to get your melee back. So let's say you Incinerator Snap a yellow bar, bang, they ignite, then you see some dregs on the ground, you simply just jump, and then kill them from the air, you get energy back from Heat Rises for your melee, and then you can snap again whenever you want. For fragments, going from left to right, we have Ember of Eruption. Your solar ignitions have an increased area of effect, so just bigger explosions. Number 2, we have Ember of Combustion. Final blows of the solar super causes targets to ignite and create a fire sprite. And yes, this does count while you're standing in your Well of Radiance. Number 3, Ember of Torches. Powered melee attacks against commands make you and your nearby allies radiant. So our snap does all that stuff that I mentioned and also makes us radiant. And finally, Ember of Ashes. You apply more scorch stacks to targets to blow them up quicker. Now let's get into the weapons and the armor. By the way, this will be a dim link for the build in my description below, just in case you want to use it. For weapons, I went with something very simple. In the top slot, I went with Riptide for the stasis debuff in our artifact to give us more damage on yellow bars. In the energy slot, I went with Sunshot because this is a full-blown solar build to just blow stuff up, and Sunshot is insane for this season with all the solar stuff I have in our artifact, which I'll show a little bit later. And then finally, in our last slot for heavy, I went with Fixed Odds. There's a couple of reasons to go with Fixed Odds. First of all, you can craft it and put enhanced perks on it. Additionally, you also have Field Prep, that's what I put on mine, which gives us more ammo and a decent reload, I suppose, as well, when you crouch. And then you have Enhanced Incandescent on it as well. It's very good for just shredding down targets. It doesn't shoot as fast as something like the Trials machine gun or Avalanche from Dawning, but it gets the job done, and it gets my storage stacks to ignite very fast, and that's all I care about. And by the way, in case you're curious how much I like Fixed Odds, here you go on screen. Only level 435. Not bad, huh? 26,000 kills. Alright, moving on. Before going over the armor mods, let's go over the artifact. So you want Flint Striker for rapid solar hits or final blows, give you Radiant for free, which is our machine gun, or Sunshot even. Then you have Killing Trigger. Radiant causes solar weapons to apply Scorch to unscorched combatants. Torch, while Radiant, you deal increased weapon damage to combatants affected by Strand or Stasis. So in this case, we're using Riptide to give us Chill Clip, and they'll be affected by that, and then we do more damage because we're constantly Radiant. Then you have Revitalizing Blast, causing damage with a solar ability, weakens champions and bosses for a short duration. So our Snap, our Grenade, and so on. Then we have Razor Precision, while Radiant, Solar Precision Final Blows cause combatants to ignite. So all our headshots that we're getting with Sunshot and Fixed Odds is just going to cause tons of ignitions. At the bottom, we have Wished into Being. While your super is nearly fully charged, ability Final Blows spawn Ores of Power. So your Well, while you're in it, counts as an ability Final Blow. Your Grenade, your Incinerator Snap, it's very easy to proc this while you're close to your super, and then you get a giant chunk just like that. And then finally, we have Argent Ordnance. Specifically, you want to switch to a rocket. and do some damage during boss phases. If not, you can swap this out for whatever you want, like Heart of the Flame, for example. Now for the mods, going top to bottom, starting at the helmet. Here we have 3 mods. Number 1 is Harmonic Siphon. Simply just make orbs of power with your solar weapons for your solar subclass, getting to your super faster. Number 2, Dynamo. Reduce your super cooldown when using your class ability in your targets. You just simply rift near a target, or maybe a target's behind a wall, and you rift there, and you get a good chunk of super energy. It's deceptively strong, and more people should be using this. And finally, we have Font of Wisdom. This is not a common mod, I would say. You gain a bonus to intellect while you have any armor charge, which would be extremely easy, by the way. So, technically speaking, it's like running 100 intellect when you actually are not running 100 intellect. And by the way, you shouldn't be running 100 intellect. You should be speccing specifically into resilience and recovery and discipline. So this helps us get a higher intellect stat while not actually feeding our armor into that stat. For our gloves, we have 2 mods. Number 1 is Firepower. You get an aura of power when you blow up stuff with your grenade. And then we have Heavy-Handed. You gain an aura of power when you blow stuff up with your melee. Pretty straightforward. For your chest, it's always going to be the same as usual. Phoenix Protocol is the exotic chest we have. And then you're going to want resistance mods. So Solar, Arc, Void Resist on there. And then have an extra chest piece for reserves for your heavy weapon. For boots, I'm sure no one's surprised, but we have 3 Solar Surge mods to pump into our heavy, in this case for me, fixed odds. And in our class item, we have 3 mods, number 1 being Bomber, to reduce our grenade cooldown when using our class ability, which is, again, our Rift and proccing Dynamo. Speaking of which, we have Powerful Attraction, so this is multi-use. Number 1, we're proccing this to get orbs of power off the ground into us to get our super energy. This also synergizes with Dynamo, because when you do Rift, you also gain energy from Dynamo. So you pick up your orbs and you get Dynamo proc to get a good chunk of super energy, and also your grenade cooldown. And finally, to go into that, our last mod is going to be Distribution. Reduce all ability cooldowns when using your class ability near targets. Again, so this plus Dynamo plus Powerful Attraction are all tied in together to give you chunks of super energy very quickly. Now, while you're watching me blow up enemies with very little effort with the setup and get a ton of super energy, I do want to note something about popping your super for this build. You don't ever want to pop your well inside the ADU zone. Besides it just being a giant obstruction that can block enemies from getting hit because they'll just stand behind it, you also don't want to pop it next to the ADU because when you well, most enemies will just aggro you unless there's a decoy in front of you. When they aggro you, that means they're going to be in the zone if you pop it in the ADU. If they're standing in the zone, your ADU is taking damage and getting drained. Instead, pop your well outside of the ADU zone, just nearby, so you can still see it. That way, the enemies aggro onto you, but they're still not in the actual zone, and then you can kill them and not have your ADU be in danger. And that's it. That is my explosive build that would make Michael Bay proud. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them. In the meantime, I am working on other builds as well. More off-meta stuff, you know, maybe a little bit of stasis here, some strand there. Maybe you guys have a build in mind that you want to see. But anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing today. It does help the channel grow and is much appreciated. And you can also leave a like and or comment to help as well. If you don't know what to comment, just leave Warlock build as the comment. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.